Welcome to another edition of Making Wine at Home. Now in this series, we'll be making a red wine kit. Now if you remember the last series, we made a white wine kit with a Chardonnay. But this time we're going to be making a red wine kit using Merlot. And here's the kit that we're going to be making. So I'll take this apart and show you what's in this kit, and we'll talk about the steps that we're going to go through. Just remember, when you're making a wine kit, pretty much all of the steps are the same. There are a few additional steps if you're making a red wine kit that has some more components in it. We're going to show you those things. So I'm going to take this apart and show you what's in it now. So here's the wine kit that we're going to do today. This is a WineXpert Eclipse Merlot, and this particular Merlot is from Stag's Leap District, California. This is a premium kit. It's an 18-liter kit, so it will have more juice in it than the standard kits do. And we're going to walk through the components that are in this kit right now. So a couple of things to look at to begin with. We have the production sticker here. Now we're going to pull that off and we're going to put it in the instructions, but I'm going to leave it on the box for the moment as we take it apart. We go into the box, here are some of the things we're going to find. We have a bag of goodies. I'm going to take that apart in a minute. We have a bag of grape skins. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. And then the rest of the box is devoted to the bag of must. So here are the details of what's in the box, other than the bag of must that is still in the box. We have a bag of grape skins. We have the sock that we're going to put the grape skins into during primary fermentation. We have the dust, the oak dust that is going to be added during primary fermentation, and we have the bentonite that's going to be what we start with when we fill the primary fermenter. For secondary fermentation, we have oak cubes. So this will be during primary fermentation. We'll rack, then we'll add the oak cubes, and then we'll rack, and then what we'll do is add our fining agents. So for our fining agents, we have 2 containers of chitosan. We have 2 containers of Kisasol. Now, if you'll remember, in the white kit, we only had 1 of each. Well, part of that is due to the fact that we're going to introduce a lot more tannins and particulates with the red wine kit, and these are designed to make sure that they pull out as much of that sediment as is possible. Now, we will also filter this wine, but remember, you can't filter cloudy wine, so we've got to get that wine crystal clear before we go to filter it, which means that the chitosan and the Kisasol have done their part to pull all that sediment down to the bottom of the carboy. We have our potassium metabisulfite, and we also have our potassium sorbate. These are preservatives that also stop the fermentation process and inhibit the fermentation process in the bottle. And then of course we have our yeast. Now I'm going to check the date on the yeast to make sure that it is still good. If the yeast is at or before the date that's imprinted, it'll be fine. If it's a little older than that, I will probably just go and buy a new packet of yeast. And this particular kit came with labels in the event that you don't make your own labels. You can use these. And as I said, the instructions, which I will do what I did in the other videos, I will take these instructions, the PDF, and I will put these into a step form so that you can see what we're doing at any point in time. So speaking of instructions, put your production sticker here and record the date that you start the wine. Pay attention to the specific gravity. You'll take that later and make sure that it fits within the chart. Clean and sanitize the equipment you're going to use. Then add 8 cups of hot tap water to the primary fermenter and gently stir in that bentonite. Don't let it clump up. Pour the contents of the juice bag into the primary fermenter, rinse out the bag, and add that to the primary fermenter. Then top up the primary fermenter to 23 liters, that's 6 gallons, with spring water. We're going to switch these steps. We'll do the grape skins after the oak that we're going to add. The oak that we'll add is granular oak, and it's easier to stir in, take the specific gravity, and then put your grape skin bag in. So we'll do it in that order. We'll add the dry yeast to the primary fermenter. We'll put an airlock onto the primary fermenter, and then I'm going to tent it and leave it in a fairly warm place. It's around 75, 76 degrees. And then I'll come back every few days and give that grape skin bag a punch down and a squeeze to get the tannins well mixed in. Okay, we're going to start with our primary fermenter that's been cleaned and sanitized, and then we're going to add some bentonite. This bentonite comes along with the kit, and the bentonite goes in with some hot water. I like to get that started early, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I've run my hot water in and add the bentonite. Remember, we want to add this slowly so that it does not clump up. Okay, so you can see the bentonite is all mixed up in there, a little bit on the sides, but that's okay. That's going to get taken care of in just a few minutes. Remember, in the video that we did with the white wine, I used an instrument or tool to take the cap off, which is what I'm going to do here, and that's taken off. Set it over there. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Very carefully, tip it up, let it go in. These are pretty heavy, so you may need to have a friend help you with it. Smells very grapey. Now what we'll do is we'll take the bag out of here and we'll get some fresh water in and mix that up and add that to the carboy, or to the fermenter. I've added a little bit of water to the bag that you can see here. And I'm going to go ahead and just empty that in. Gets the last bit of what was in the bag out. And now we have our primary fermenter filled with the grape juice, the must. And the next step is we're going to take care of those grape skins and get those into the fermenter as well. And one of the things that I like to do is, because I don't know the provenance of this bag, I don't know where it's been sitting, it's been in a I don't know what could be on the bag, if anything. So what I'm doing is I'm just sanitizing it to make sure that it's good and clean. And what's important about that is when we go to remove the contents of the bag, we can't take it out of this hole. It's too thick. It's not going to come out. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a side open so that we can pour that into the sock that we're about to then put into the primary fermenter. Now I have this sock that I've cleaned, and you can see that that sock is going to hold the grape skins, but I've got to get them into the sock. So I'm now going to cut the corner off of that grape skin bag, and I'm going to upend it in here so that you can see how that works. So I'm going to cut this end off. That should be sufficient to get the grape skins out. And when you look at it, you can see it's like jelly. Now, because I've cleaned this bag, I'm going to get this back in place, and we're going to get the sock over it. Now you can see why I wanted to clean that bag. I've sped this up a bit. There is an alternative. You could put these grape skins directly into the must and mix them in. You get the maximum transfer rate, but it's a lot easier to use a sock because you can get that out before you rack, making it easier to manage in the end. The next step is to bring the liquid level up to 23 liters. 23 liters is right about at this ridge. We have another maybe half gallon here. Let's see if this is enough to bring it just up over the lip. We're right where we need to be with that now. We're going to get our grape skins now staged and ready to drop in. But before we do that, we have a couple of packages of premium oak that we're going to want to add. Now this premium oak, I'll make sure that it's pretty well in focus. That premium oak, it kind of looks like sawdust. This is going to act as if we had conducted primary fermentation in an oak barrel. Now we haven't, obviously we're doing it in a plastic, and we're doing this from a kit, but it mimics the use of an actual oak barrel for fermentation. So you can see how that's just, it kind of looks like sawdust. I'm going to bring it up closer. It may go out of focus, but that's really all it is, and we're just going to dump that in. And I have a second one I'm going to do as well. I'm not sure how good this looks, or whether you can see it well enough, but hopefully you'll be able to see that I have mixed in all of that, sawdust. As you can see, that sawdust keeps wanting to float to the top, so I just want to make sure I've got that fairly well combined. And then I'll take the spoon out and get the grape skins in, and that, as I said, is going to be a little tricky to do. Make sure that your hands have been really well sanitized. And this is going to be a little messy, so I apologize, but here goes. And we'll clean off the edge in just a moment. All right, that is now in there. And there's a little bit of nummy left, which we're going to add in. It's going to be good. Now I'm going to clean off the edge of this. All right, so I'm going to give this a little more of a stir. And before I got started today, I did check the yeast date code just to make sure if it was beyond, I could have run out and gotten some yeast. I just want to get this swirling a little bit. We did take the specific gravity earlier and it was just fine. And then I'm going to pour this yeast in, and then here's the yeast going in. And notice I don't do anything to activate the yeast. I don't pour it all in one clump either. The temperature is about 78 degrees. We'll put the airlock on now and we'll let it sit for a couple of days and come back and see how it's doing and squeeze that bag. Just getting the airlock on and everything ready to go here. And at the very end, we'll put our airlock on. Make sure that it is airtight. And it's floating nicely. Now let's talk about what you see in there. Now I'm not sure if you remember what I have. See that? There's the bag. It's really well tied, but it's really looking natty. I'm just gonna, oh, it's nice and warm in here too. I'm giving that bag a nice squeeze just to make sure that I'm imparting all the tannins from those grape skins. You see it? See when I squeeze it? Do you see you see those tannins come out? All right, so that's done. I'm going to put the top back on with some fresh water in the airlock, and I'll tent it again. Okay, we're all set, and you can see it's bubbling once again. Well, to recap today's edition, we looked at our red wine kit and we took it apart and we saw some of the different components that are in it, namely the grape skins. We talked about how we're going to handle those grape skins, and then as we started the primary fermentation, you saw how those grape skins got put into a sock and then put into that primary fermenter. Now, we're going to come back and squeeze that bag, because what we want to do is we want to get the tannins out of those grape skins, but we don't want the mess of having the grape skins all mixed in with the rest of the must, which, as we said, we could have done, and that's something that I do occasionally do when I'm making a red wine kit, but it takes more steps. You have to go through more of the process of doing the punch down and other things that really, for a first time kit maker, I don't really think you want to go through. So this time we followed it by the book, and you got a chance to see everything that you need to do to get that red wine started. So in the next edition, we're going to take that red wine and we're going to do our racking, and we're going to get moving with that kit. So I'm really excited. This looks like it's going to be a fun kit to make. So stick with us. Thank you very much. And before I forget, have a glass of wine today, because soon that wine, that'll be a wine that you've made. Cheers.